Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by. I wanted to help remind you that no matter what you're going through right now, you can still have a good day. Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of It's a Good Day podcast. I'm so glad you guys are here with me this week. I apologize for not posting on Saturdays like I usually do. I made a post this week about how I'm trying to create the best content that I possibly can, not only for me, but for you guys too. And so by doing that, I believe the best way is to start posting on Wednesdays instead of Saturdays. So you will be seeing more content during the week instead of on the weekend when you guys are just trying to chill, you know? If you have not already, go back to last week's episode and check on last week's episode because that was full of some good stuff, man. I was talking about my pregnancy and how hard it was on me and just the emotions I was going through when I was going through my pregnancy. And there are a lot of people I know that could probably relate to those same things. And I want you guys to know that you're not alone. You're not. Like I said, there's probably a lot of people who went through the same thing that I went through, and I really want to speak into those lives and just let them know, like, you're not the only one that are feeling those things, and if you are feeling those things, let it out. Find a way to let go of those negative emotions, and yeah, I just hope that you go back and listen to it and just know that I went through it too, and you're not alone. This week, we're going to be talking about my new job. What? Yeah, I got a new job. You guys don't even know what my job is, so this really isn't new to you, but it's new to me. Yeah, basically, I just want to take the time to talk about why I'm so excited about this job. There are some people that just work in jobs because they need a job and they need money. And then there are some people like me who have a degree like me and are trying to find a job that they actually enjoy for the rest of their life to make a career out of. Like me. The funny thing is, this job is not necessarily the job that I'm going into for my career. It is more of a stop and enjoy where you are kind of job. My husband always tells me to try and be content where I am, and this job is definitely an image of trying to be content where I am. I'm also going to be talking about how other jobs in the past have affected me, how this job is affecting me right now, and how I'm hoping this job is going to help affect my future. So like I said last episode, we were talking about my pregnancy and how that affected my mental health. Essentially, that bad mental health is what got me to the job I'm in today. I know this sounds a little crazy, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. I am currently in a daycare job. Deanna, you hyped up a daycare job. For what? Let me tell you why. So before I got this job, I was actually job hopping. A bunch of different jobs. I had a bunch of different jobs. When I was pregnant, Santiago and I were both working, and then after I was done being pregnant, after I gave birth, I had quite a few jobs because Santiago got hurt at work. Working to me just became a hassle. Everyone thinks that their job is the worst job, but I just did not like leaving the house and working because I felt like I was overworking. Once you have a kid and once you have a family and a house, you have to take care of it. I had to find jobs that were acceptable. Last year, before COVID was even a thing, I got a job as a para at an elementary school, and I loved that job. I loved that job. It was so much fun because I had a kiddo that I was stuck to his hip every day, and even though he beat me up every day, it was my favorite job in the whole wide world because I got to build this connection with this kiddo, and he was so much fun. And if you go back to my college episode, I talk about how I was originally going to go to college for education. I have such a heart for learning, and not only learning, but I have such a heart for kids. I love kids, especially in a learning environment, because they are the future of this crazy world. And so it is our job as teachers and parents and friends and family to teach these little nuggets and make them the best little things they can be. When I was working the para job, I loved going to work. I had no complaints about it. When COVID hit, they let go of a bunch of paraprofessionals because a lot of those kids were staying home with their parents. So I lost a job. I'm not the only one. COVID really struck a lot of families. So I get what they were going through because I had a kid and a husband at home that I had to provide for, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have a job. So what do I do next? I go to the one place where everyone else was going because they were the only people hiring during a pandemic. Walmart. I worked at Walmart for 5 months maybe. And it was one of the worst jobs I could have ever gotten. ever. I was very thankful to have a job. There were a lot of people during the pandemic that did not have a job, and I was one of the lucky few that did. But it was not good for me at all. I had bosses and coworkers who were just negative Nancy's, and I didn't like my manager, and my manager was childish, and they didn't acknowledge their workers the way that they should have, so we felt underappreciated during a very trying time. And I think as workers, if we are being asked to do stuff that's way above our pay grade, we deserve at least recognition for that. We didn't get that recognition. So it was just, and I was coming home unhappy, and I was just mad all the time, and I dreaded going to work, and there were many days that I called in because I was sick. It just wasn't good. So I quit. Santiago and I agreed that it wasn't good for me, that it was driving me up the wall, it was making me batty, and I just needed to do something else. So what do I do after Walmart during a pandemic? I do Instacart and DoorDash because I want to deal with more people. And I did that for a long time. I did that for 4 months? 3 months? 4 months? I don't know. Felt like a long time. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it's a long time when you don't like driving and all you're doing is driving for 6 to 7 hours every day, 5 days a week. Ugh. That was a positive job because it was more flexible. So if I needed to do something with Amelia, I could go do something with Amelia. But I don't like driving. And a lot of people like to say that I have road rage. I don't have road rage. People just don't know how to drive. And I do. I think everyone from Florida knows how to drive. Obviously, because we can take Florida driving tests online. Who needs real world experience when you're driving? Just go to the VR world. It's much more accurate anyways. Yikes. I just wasn't enjoying driving at all. It was making me angry. It was nice because I could listen to music. I started getting angry because there were customers that just were being rude. Like, I'm going grocery shopping for you. In a pandemic, I am going out and doing what you don't want to do because you don't want to go out, which is fine. But if you're going to get mad at me for the store not having things, that isn't my fault because I don't work for the store. I work for myself. But you're still going to get mad at me. That's fine. I'm fine. It wasn't the worst job I could ever have, but it was also inconsistent because you got paid weekly, and if there wasn't enough orders or if the app crashed, like, it wasn't consistent work. And I like consistency in my life. I don't like when things aren't going the way that they're supposed to go, or I don't like when things don't match up on my calendar. I need order in my life. My mom and I had this conversation, and I like to be in control of things. And if I'm not in control of things, I lose my ever-loving mind. I quit DoorDash and Instacart. I'm not a quitter. I'm just tired. This leads up to the whole reason behind this podcast. Not even a week later, because I had been applying to a bunch of jobs while I was doing DoorDash and Instacart. Not even a week later, I got a phone call from a daycare. I was very excited about it, and I was kind of excited about it. I wasn't sure where God wanted me to be. I had just gotten my diploma in the mail. I officially was a graduated girl with a bachelor's degree. I could go anywhere and do anything that my bachelor intended for me to do. But I wasn't sure where that was right now, especially because we are working towards some goals in our family that I will talk about when it's more secured, and I wasn't sure where we would be in the next couple months, and I wasn't sure what we'd be doing or where we'd go, and I didn't want to accept a job that was in my field that made me set a contract for 3, 4, 5 years, and I couldn't uphold that contract. I was like, well, the next best thing I can do is go to a daycare because Amelia could go to a daycare with me, and I love children, and I love little children, and it would just work out really well for me. So I got this phone call, and I was like, well, I'll go, and I'll talk to this lady, and I won't guarantee anything because I probably won't get anything, and that's fine. I was not positive about the situation. Even when Santiago was super excited, he was like, this is a good thing, this is great. I was like, well, I don't know. I was a negative Nancy. My past job situations were the best, so I wasn't holding this one up to super high standards. When I got in the car to drive to this interview, I prayed about it. I was like, okay, God, this is where you want me to go? Like, show me, this is where you want me to go. I want to have something secure, and I want to have something that I can be proud of when I'm there and working, and I enjoy working with kids, so I pray that this just works out in your favor and that your will is done and maybe something positive will come out of this. So I go and I sit down and I start talking to the lady. And, she's asking about my background in childcare and working with kids and all the stuff that you would ask in a regular interview. And then we start talking about my schoolwork. And she was like, well, what do you have? What kind of degrees or qualifications? What do you have? And I was like, well, I have my associates and my bachelor's. And she was like, oh, you have your bachelor's? I said, yeah, I do. And she said, well, what's your bachelor's in? And so I told her that it was a concentration in electronic media, and then I mentioned my 2 minors in humanities and biblical studies. And she paused the interview because she was like, so tell me more about your background in biblical studies, which was an interesting thing for someone to ask because it's unless you are going to work in like a church or, I don't know, somewhere regarding religion or faith, you're not really going to be asked about a background in biblical studies. So I was a little thrown off, especially for daycare. And I was like, well, this is the minor that I have, and this is what I did and what I learned and what I'm passionate about, and this is the faith I have and the God I love. And it was a really good door for me to bring my faith into where I was potentially going to be working. And so then she was like, okay, that's really cool. We'll talk about that in a second. So she finished the interview. Then we do some more talking. And she was like explaining to me how the core of this daycare, because it's her daycare, she owns it, how the core of this daycare is centered around Christ and how their curriculum is Christ-centered, and they learn about a new Bible story every week, and they pray before lunch and dinner. And it was really cool for me to sit there and listen to her and be like, oh, this is the place I could potentially be working. Because in the past, I was surrounded by people who underappreciated or didn't care to be around us or talked terribly or had a potty mouth. You can tell I work in a daycare. A sailor's mouth, or just a bunch of different bad situations, different bad atmospheres that I was around. And so talking to this one woman, how she was describing her daycare and talking about what she wants her course to be, and I started to get excited because I was like, okay, this is the kind of lady that I can be around every day. It was a fun conversation that we were having. And so then she started asking me like, oh, what church do you go to? And I started telling her about the church that we visited or the churches that we have church hop to, or all the different details that she was asking me, I was able to answer. And so finally, at the end of the interview, and this is what really shook me, but she prayed for me because at first I was like, well, I want to go home and talk to my husband, before I accept this job. And then she prayed for me, and she was like, just praying that I find the guidance that I'm looking for in a job. I prayed for my future, praying for my schooling, she just prayed for everything. It was really heckin' cool. Before I even left the door, I was like, nope, I asked God earlier for a sign, and he just gave me that sign. And so before I walked out the door, I was like, you know what? I'll take the job. This is what I want to do. I want to be around these people all the time. And I took the job. My attitude walking into the interview was really negative because at first I was angry that I wasn't going to an interview for a job that I went to school for. I thought it was kind of silly that I was spending thousands of dollars to get a degree in something, and then I'm going and working and doing something totally different. That's a little ridiculous. However, it's kind of like what I said earlier, what Santiago says to me all the time. It is so important to find contentment where you are. You're not always going to be where you want to be right then. We have to learn that it is important to find joy and contentment in the season we are in. Even if it's not the season that we want to be in, it's the season that God wants you to be in. Now that I've started this job, it has put me in an awesome schedule. I talked about earlier how I like to be in control of my scheduling and I like to be in control of what I do. And now with this schedule, it's a set schedule. Every morning I get up at the same time. I leave around the same time every day. And it's Monday through Friday. I have the weekends off to be with my kiddo. It's just more of a set schedule, and it makes me feel so much better because I can write it down on my calendar, and when it's in my calendar, that's for real. That's where it goes. But then there was another struggle. I accepted the job and I was super excited about the job. And I was going home to tell Santiago about how excited I was about this job. And then all of a sudden I got in my head and I was like, are you serious? I'm going to watch 11 to 12 2-year-olds Monday through Friday, but I'm not even watching my own kid. Huh? Where's the sense in that? And I got angry about that because I was like, I should be with my kid. No one else should be with my kid. I'm working at a daycare. I should be able to bring her now. And I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to bring her after she's 2. I just got to wait a couple months. But in that moment, I got angry about that too. Instead of praising God and thanking God for the job that he gave me, I was still trying to find negativity in the positivity. Why? What's the point in that? God clearly, ever so clearly, put this good thing in front of me and I'm ignoring it for my own selfish reasons. Like, that's human nature. Why are we like that? It's mind-blowing to me. Like, if God is going to give it to you, plain as day, take it and run. After I said yes, I would take the job, and after I went home to Santiago and I still had things to complain about, he was like, Deanna, what the heck? He was like, God just opened up a really cool door for you and you're still complaining? Why? Why are you doing that? So then I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to take it. We're going to give it a try. And we're just going to believe that this is where God wants me to be in this moment. And 3 weeks later, I am beyond happy that I did it. I literally have no complaints about my job. I love what I do. I love waking up early in the morning. I love going out and hanging out with these kids all day, every day, because they're just the funniest little nuggets that I've ever been around, ever. And it's such a good time. There's so much that we can learn from children. There's so much we can learn from children. It's insane because their little sponge brains suck up everything, and then our old brains are going and dusting away and we're forgetting everything, and they just teach us new things every day. There's a Bible verse that, we grew up hearing in the church, and it's found in Mark 10, verse 14. It says, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." What the heck does that mean? It means to listen to the little children because they're not as crazy as they sound. God made these children to grow up into adults that are making the kingdom of heaven. There is a reason that they talk about Babel all day, every day. Like, they're not crazy. They just have personalities that are growing that God is going to use in the future. And it's my job now every day. And I'm so blessed to be able to go and help these children grow. I'm able to help their little personalities mold and shape and just become these amazing little human beings. And I'm so honored that I get to do that every day. I'm so excited about it. It makes me so happy. Especially because I have funny stories I can bring home every day. One of my favorite stories right now that I love to tell everyone, and I haven't even been working there for a month. Like, I've only been there 3 weeks, and I have so many stories, but this is one of my favorite stories. There's this little boy that I work with, and every day he goes into the bathroom, and there's a little drain on the floor, so if the toilet overflows, all the water can go down into that drain. And he'll go over to that drain, and he'll just point in it, and he'll start talking, and he'll start saying, "Gecko? Gecko? Gecko?" And I'll ask him, I'll be like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? And he'll say, "There's geckos down there." And I'm like, "What do you mean? There's no geckos down there, buddy." And it's stuff like that it just makes me so happy because they just do the sweetest little things because they are the sweetest little things. I have to start thinking about, how is this going to help my future in electronic media? Although the job itself is not necessarily going to help me get somewhere, the time that I have in the job and after the job could potentially help me get somewhere. So when I'm at work and if the kids are playing or if the kids are napping, I have time to sit down and write new episodes for podcasts. I have time to sit down and think about social media strategies for my podcast, or I have time to sit down and create, content for Instagram or Facebook, or just helping this platform grow the way I want it to grow. And that's huge because this is something that I want to work super hard on. I do work super hard on. And this job allows me more time to be able to work on it. And I think that is, obviously because of God. God wants me to keep doing this, or else he wouldn't give me a job that would allow me to have time to work on this. The positives from this job is that in a couple of weeks, when Amelia turns 2, she's going to come with me. So what I've wanted for such a long time is for Amelia to be with me every single day. And now she's going to get to. And not only is she going to be with me, but she's going to be with a bunch of little minions running around causing a muck and having the best time ever. And that's so exciting to me. I love talking about this job. I love thinking about this job. I love this job where I'm at. I've brought it up multiple times in this episode, and that's because he was so right when he said it. But when Santiago told me I had to be content where I was, I never really took the time or the energy to try and understand that or apply that sentence to my life until now. I truly believe that I am right where God wants me to be in this moment, And I am so content with that. I just think God's so cool. I think what he does is cool. I think how he works is cool. And it's not even stuff that we recognize sometimes. And maybe it might be stuff that we try to ignore sometimes. But he is moving and he is getting us where we need to be step by step, little by little. And for some people, it might be big step by big step. But right now for me, it's little step by little step. But I'm noticing the changes. I'm appreciating, I'm loving, and I'm praising the changes that God is bringing into my life. I just think it's the coolest thing. So yes, now you guys know all about my new job. I don't do this podcast 24/7. However, that would be really heckin' cool, I think. And maybe one day in the future I will. But right now, I get to hang out with little nuggets every day, all day, every day. And it's a lot of work. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, guys. I'm so glad you can learn a little bit more about me and what I do every day when I'm not sitting on this very comfortable couch. Do you like my new background? I feel like I'm adding something new every episode. Maybe next week there'll be a little succulent right there. Just something to give your eyeballs something nice to look at. You guys, I am so excited that these episodes are just getting better and better and better. If you have not listened to past episodes, you can find past episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. What? There's so many platforms that you can go to find these things and listen to them and hear me and relate with me and grow with me, laugh with me, cry with me. There's just so many spots and places that you can go. Episodes are going to start being posted Wednesdays, like I said earlier in the episode. And I'm just excited for this to grow and get big and help others or entertain people or help me, most importantly, because girlfriend needs some help in her life. But yes, if you haven't already, go and check out all those social media platforms. Like them, subscribe to them. Thumbs up them. I don't even know half the things that you can do. That is where you can find It's a Good Day podcast because it is such a good day, all day, every day. And I'm so glad that you're here with me. So I will see you guys next week and smile because it really is a good day. Bye.